Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Ryan Ride Mechanic channel. How the heck are you doing today? Alright, really quick video today. I've started to see this, we talked about it this week on the Side Friction podcast, and I started to see this pop up in more and more feeds, and I've got more of you asking me questions about this, so let's talk about the Worlds of Fun incident, which isn't really much of an incident, but let's look at it.
Now get ready, here we go.
Let's start with the news itself. Let's look at this.
Well, this photo shows a terrifying moment. Passengers on the MAMBA ride at Worlds of Fun had to hold somebody down after they say a seatbelt restraint failed.
The state fire marshal found...
Sorry, I'm going to keep pausing it though, but the seatbelt restraint failed. Seatbelt's not really a restraint. Seatbelt's a secondary restraint. The lap bar is the primary restraint. Seatbelt's a secondary. If you ever want to know if your seatbelt is the primary, you shouldn't be able to unlock your own seatbelt. If you can unlock your seatbelt, it's a secondary, not a primary. Sorry.
Some of the restraints are not functioning properly. KMBC9's Krista Tatchell is investigating how this all happened.
And we're just learning of these incidents now, 2 weeks after they happened to passengers riding the tallest roller coaster at Worlds of Fun.
So we get on. We're so excited because this is our favorite roller coaster.
It's a young girl behind me in the roller coaster, and I don't know if it's her first roller coaster or her 100th roller coaster, you know. But then she said, my seatbelt came off, it was completely undone, and there was this big of a gap between her and the lap bar.
Okay, so she said my seatbelt came off, and then the gentleman that was sitting in front to the right of her looked behind and said, oh, well, there's a really big gap between the lap bar and the person themselves. It's like, okay, gap is just perception. I don't know, if I look behind at a lot of smaller riders, I might think that they have a large gap on them too. Obviously, the girl thought that she had a massive problem. Obviously, like that like the gentleman just said, don't know if it's a first coaster or a 1,000th coaster, you know, but if the seatbelt comes undone, she obviously panicked, didn't know what to do.
72 miles an hour, holding on to somebody, it's terrifying. The first drop halfway through the hill, I'm sorry, this is really emotional because this little girl, the scream that she screamed, I've never heard anything like that before in my entire life.
Dropping 205 feet, a seatbelt restraint didn't latch and lock. Two girls clung to each other as Cassie and Chris Evans held them down.
I looked at her just dead in the eye and connected with her for a second. She was listening. I said, look, you're going to make it through the rest of this ride. We're not going to let you go.
Turned around, grabbed her. Her friend has a hold of her. They're both crying.
That was on October 11th.
Okay, so we can't see what's really happening back there. I can't see the edge of a restraint. I see the edge of the seats right here. Edge of the seat and back. I mean, I've ridden this roller coaster a handful of times. I mean, I don't see the restraint itself as failing.
October 11th, 1 day later. Another seatbelt malfunction on the MAMBA. A mother shouted her son's seatbelt hadn't locked as the cars entered their first climb. This time, the ride stopped and the twisted, loose seatbelt was adjusted. Inspectors from the State Department...
Right there. The twisted, loose seatbelt. Okay. Again, seatbelts are the secondary.
Fire safety were on site evaluating the MAMBA Thursday morning.
We probably won't go back for a while. We need to see the change. And once we see that change, I will be comfortable taking my 4 children who I have.
I'm curious to what the change is. What are you looking for from this change?
Not comfortable taking currently.
Krista Tatchell, KMBC 9 News.
So there it was. It's a really simple thing. I believe, like I've heard some other people say, this is just sensationalism news put out there. Basically, if you boil all of this down, and that's why I've listened to this, I've watched this a handful of times. There's multiples of these out there, but they all state the same thing. This girl's seatbelt came undone. Okay, on pretty much all these rides out there, you could reach down at any point in time and go click and unclick your seatbelt. You can do it. I wouldn't recommend it to anybody. I wouldn't suggest it to anybody. It's there for a reason, but you can do it. So when you can unlock your own seatbelt and just take it off mid-ride, that's the manufacturer, that's the ride operator basically saying that the seatbelts aren't really that important. You know what you can't unlock mid-ride is your restraint. The restraint's called a restraint because it restrains you into the seat. The seatbelts are just, they're comfort things. Any point in time on pretty much any one of these rides, you can just reach down and unlock the thing. You can. They're just secondary devices. They're comfort things. They're just there as one more layer of please don't get up and try to get off of this ride. There's really nothing to this. This is all over just an unlocked seatbelt. Now, the state came in, and I remember the article said they found 20 seatbelts that didn't retract fully. Now, from my experience working on stuff is that when you pull a seatbelt out and it gets twisted, like one end goes 180 degrees and then it feeds back into the retractor, those things get jammed up in there really bad. And they don't pull back in all the way. Once the edges start to get frayed and stuff and the mechanism starts to slow down, the springs start to get old. They don't pull back in as sharp as they used to. You kind of have to feed them back in. That's borderline edge of replacement. So after all this, the state went out there and looked at it, or the local inspection agency went out there and looked at it and said, okay, on your ride, you've got 20 seatbelts that we say should be replaced. And the park said, okay, they replaced their 20 seatbelts. All right, is this a big issue? No, it's not. It's just seatbelts. That's one of the things that happens. You know what I really hate are the fixed seatbelts where they don't retract back, but you have to pull the strap to get them tighter. It's kind of like on an airplane, right? All the times they would twist 180 degrees and then people would pull that twist through the adjuster. And then you'd have maintenance people out there all the time trying to take the seatbelt buckle apart because that 180 twist is now stuck in the adjuster and the entire row is usable until you can get that to work again. Man, seatbelts cause such issues. But this isn't a thing. This isn't something to panic about. This isn't really even something newsworthy, honestly. I'm just making a video because it's starting to come up everywhere. And just this is the same exact reaction I did when Fury 325 happened. It's like, yes, this stuff does happen. Okay, it's actually not a big deal. Seatbelts, they come off. They come apart. They can unbuckle. Yeah, if you didn't push it all the way back down in there and something especially is jammed or not lubricated on the inside. This is one of the reasons I don't like water park adjacent rides like MAMBA is because you get all the chlorine and everything else down on the inside and it just eats away at all that stuff and causes it to go bad. But realistically, that's it. I mean, if I'm missing something, I'm missing something, but this wasn't a case of a restraint failure. This was a case of a seatbelt came undone. I can't give you any more than just buckle the seatbelt back. Was the family's reaction, was that girl's reaction overdone? Was it crazy, unnecessary? It's like, look, when people feel they're in danger, they feel they're in danger. Whether they are or are not, that doesn't matter. If you feel like you're in danger, and you're going to react as such, which is what that girl did. Thank you so much to the family that was right in front of her, trying to help her out. That was awesome. I'm glad they did that. Was it really necessary? No. Was it something that they decided to do? Absolutely. To be nice people? 100%. Absolutely. If I was sitting in front and she did the same thing, I would have did the same thing. I would have gone back and like, oh my gosh, and pushed down. Being a mechanic, first thing I would have done is check to make sure her lap bar was locked. Once I made sure her lap bar was down and locked, I was like, okay, you could hold on to my arm. Sure, go for it, but you're going to be fine. Nothing's wrong. The gentleman did not say, I would love to hear more about that if possible. Gentleman did not say when he did that, he did not say he tried to push that lap bar further down. He just said he noticed it was up higher, which I don't know. Son and I both like to try to leave room on those Morgan hypercoasters like that so we get a little bit more airtime out of there. That's just us. Was that happening? I don't know. Just a seatbelt, though. Everyone can go back to what you were doing. Like and subscribe, share. Stay off the air gates. Bye.